Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So something very different today, and that is a tournament final. So yeah, usually we try and live stream these, but just the way that the timing worked out, we couldn't live stream it this time. But I decided to record it and make it into a video because I think these are usually pretty good games. Generally, the two best players in the tournament coming head to head in the final. Yeah, usually makes for a good game. So this is the final of the Yapacana Antbird Tournament, which was a time zone based tournament with 64 entrants, and it was double elimination best of one. So this is the final between myself, who won the upper bracket for this tournament, and funbun, who won the lower bracket. So if I can win this game, I'll be the tournament champion, but if funbun wins, then we play again, and that is a winner takes all situation. But yeah, here we go. We'll get straight into the game, and you'll see it's an okay starting hand. I'm more interested in the tray, really. Obviously, that white start, pretty good. One of the stronger forest birds, and the two bonus cards, Omnivore and Eulogist. That was a really difficult decision for me because both really strong bonus cards. Eulogist generally, I think, guaranteed 6 points. Omnivore. I've got the King Rail and the Whipping Crane in my hand, which ideally I'd be picking those up later in the game, but yeah, they are potentially still options. And then there's a Coot in the tray that's going to work with that as well. So really my decision is, am I going to get more than 3 of these birds down? Because if the answer to that is no, I'm probably better off going with the Eulogist, just because, particularly I'm going first here. I'm probably going to be picking up that Violet Green Swallow, trying to build up a nice Grasslands engine, so yeah, I think my strategy is probably already going to be very centered around laying lots of eggs, and certainly, getting those 9 birds down for the Eulogist is normally not too much of a problem. But yeah, that's really the question for me: is can I get 4 or more of these Omnivore birds down? And if I think I can, then it's worth going for. So yeah, my kind of key decision was, okay, if I'm going to be picking up that Violet Green Swallow, my first few turns are pretty straightforward. Take the Swallow, play the White Start, get food. That's going to give me 2 worms to play the Swallow. But then I'm going to need to think about, what's left in the tray. Maybe that Hawk is an option. Obviously the Coot, I need something in the wetlands. So then I have to think about, am I going to tuck the King Rail? Am I going to pick something up from the deck? These are always the questions you kind of want to be thinking about. Plan your first few turns and think about whether it's worth spending that extra turn picking up a bird in the tray, or whether you should sacrifice the card that you've got in your hand in order to just gain yourself that little bit of tempo. So yeah, here we go. Like I said, my first turn, pretty straightforward, pick up that Swallow. Fortunately, it doesn't get replaced by a stronger bird, but yeah, really I'm kind of still looking at those other 2 birds in the tray, the Hawk and the Coot, so that is at least why I kept the food that I did. I've got the Rodent and the Seed, so I've got the flexibility potentially to play one or both of those. I think particularly I'll need to get something down in the wetlands for the first end of round goal, but also just to be able to help generate some cards, because yeah, if my strategy this game is all going to be about trying to lay as many eggs as possible, I'm going to need some cards to be tucking under that Swallow. And just hopefully cycling through the deck, trying to find those birds that are going to help build up my engine or score lots of points. That's really my target in this game. So yeah, I think pretty straightforward. Like I said, the first few turns, just try and get this White Start down, as I've done here, and yeah, then I'm just going to go for food. Really, I just need to hope that my opponent doesn't take both the worms in the feeder. It's unlikely, because that would involve throwing away a card, so I can't really see that happening, but yeah, here we go. Luckily they just take the 1 worm, so that means I can take the other one, and then through that White Start power I'm going to get a second worm, which is just going to allow me to get that Swallow down. And yeah, my opponent's not taken any of these birds in the tray, so I think at the moment my priority is to get that Coot, like I said. I need something for this end of round goal, and just something there that's going to allow me to get some extra cards, get some extra tucked cards, That's going to be really nice. So yeah, my opponent went with the black turn, so that's a really nice card to have. Works with all the end of round goals and kind of explains why maybe they haven't taken the coup. I think, yeah, they kind of prioritise getting that down and, just have an option. And then, like I said, it's just going to get you some more cards. So, yeah, this is the turn I do decide to tuck the king rail. So that was a difficult decision because, like I said with this Omnivore Expert bonus card, I'm going to need to get as many of these birds down as possible. If I can't get at least 3, then that's going to be missed points because that Eulogist, probably, like I said, guaranteed 6 points. So I need to, at the very least, be matching that. But really, the goal should be to score more than those 6 points. So I will have my work cut out, trying to find those birds in the deck, dig through the deck, and yeah, find those omnivore birds that I'm looking for. But certainly having the coot and the swallow, just having that extra card cycle, being able to filter through the deck that a little bit quicker, I think that's really the key for me. So yeah, I can go for cards here because I've laid eggs. So yeah, like I said, kind of just go from the deck, see what I can get. It's not really great options, but that's not too much of a problem at this point. Really, it's just about getting some cards. So again, my strategy at the moment really is all centered around that grasslands and the swallow. Now that does change a little bit here because my opponent gets the cowbird down, and I think whenever that happens, you start to be a little bit cautious about how much you're going to use this grassland, because yeah, I'm getting 2 eggs plus a tuck card for 3 points, but I'm giving my opponent a point. So effectively, I'm only scoring 2 net points each turn, and that does make you think a little bit more carefully, about what turns you have. Certainly going to make me have another key decision point here in, do I move away from the grasslands, or do I try and build this up to the extent that it doesn't matter if I'm giving my opponent a point, I'm scoring 5 or 6, so I can make peace with that. But yeah, into round 2, we have the Peleated Woodpecker in the tray, so unsurprisingly, my opponent takes that. Pretty easy for them to get that down. They've already got plenty of cavity nest space as well to help with that. So Common Grackle in the tray, yeah, kind of an obvious pickup for me. Works with the Omnivore Expert, so that's another bird for that. But really, more importantly, I needed something for this end of round goal. So I think my opponent's going to win it because they have 2 bowl nests, but without that Grackle, I don't have any. And certainly, these end of round goals, you kind of need to make sure you're at least qualifying to yeah, be able to score points. And fortunately for me, there was that seed in the bird feeder, which meant that I could pick that up. Now I did consider, do I get rid of the heron here and get the extra food? I decided to keep it in the end, just because it could potentially become an option later in the game. I'm looking towards that last end of round goal, total birds. I think when you can have these double birds, that can certainly help out, but I don't need to worry too much about that now. Really, my priority, like I said, get that food, I can get this grackle down. And that's kind of helping a number of things. Like I said, it's going to help the bonus card, it helps this end of round goal. It's going to help me score points away from my grasslands, and that is so important when you see your opponent get pink powers like this. If I'd found another really nice grassland bird, like another tucking bird, or something like a hummingbird or a crow, I think I could have just gone all in on that grasslands. But certainly this grackle, now when I'm drawing cards, I'm going to be filtering through some of the deck, but I'm scoring points. So I'm getting 2 tuck cards and an egg. So that's always a good option to have. And with my opponent giving me some free eggs as well, through their Peleated Woodpecker. I don't want to be laying eggs too much because I'm going to fill up on space. So yeah, I think just having that a little bit of flexibility here, being able to spend basically 3 turns drawing cards until that grackle fills up, and then at that point I can start to think about picking up some food. Now the second pink power goes down, that makes me feel even more vindicated in this decision to kind of shift away from the grasslands, because yeah, now if I lay eggs, I'm going to get 3 points, but my opponent's going to get 2, and that is really, really difficult to fight against. So yeah, see, I do get the Roadrunner and the Mockingbird, which I think if I'd drawn those maybe 1 or 2 turns earlier, I would have fully committed and gone in that grasslands. But now I am thinking a little bit more carefully about, building up that grasslands too strongly. Obviously, the Roadrunner, that's going to be nice anyway, I think, for the bonus card, even if I'm not necessarily going to be activating it too much. So, yeah, I can be pretty happy with that. But, yeah, certainly, when you're up against 2 pink powers like that, I think you start to feel a little bit nervous about laying too many eggs. So I think the fact that I can score points in my wetlands here while also cycling through the deck, I think that's really nice. So another good pickup there in the Woodstalk. So again, it's going to be another Omnivore bonus card. And it's going to give a bonus card itself. So yeah, I can hope for something good there. And, looking at the feeder, there's already a fish there. So really, I just need to try and get something on the reroll and hopefully be able to get some more food. So yeah, really, it was kind of difficult at this point because I wanted a second forest bird. I was looking for a nuthatch or something like that, just to extend it out, maybe get some extra food or some extra points. However, as you will see as we go into this third round, I do actually end up playing the mockingbird up in that forest. Now, this is not something I think I've ever done outside of a pure forest engine where you're going heavy on points with cached food and tuck cards and birds like the polluted woodpecker, wood duck, that kind of thing. I don't think I've ever played the mockingbird in the forest to copy a food gaining power. But needs must. This is a tricky spot up against an opponent with all these pink powers, me not really being able to generate much food. I think when you do find yourself in this position where you're not able to score points in your grassland, you have to think more about playing big point birds and trying to score points that way. So, I've got these 2 nice birds, the Roadrunner and the Stork. They're going to score me lots of points, but I don't have enough access to food to be able to play both of those. So, yeah, by playing the Mockingbird here, not only does it push that forest out another space, allowing me to get 2 food, but then I can copy that white start power and get some extra worms. And yeah, the Roadrunner eats worms. Obviously, both of these birds, they have the omnivore symbol, so they'll eat anything for that food space. And yeah, I'll be trying to use as many worms as that's possible. So fortunately, my opponent does go for food there and allows me to get a reroll. I'll be honest, not quite sure why I didn't take the rodent there. I think I wasn't really paying attention. I thought I didn't already have a fish, so I wanted to pick up the fish to get the Woodstalk down. But yeah, it's not too big of a deal because I know I'm going to need to go for food again anyway. So I know I can look to pick up that rodent, and it is still there. Now, this is where the third pink power comes down, and at this point I'm feeling really vindicated about not going for the grasslands because, yeah, I think even if I'd gone Mockingbird in the grasslands with the swallow, again, I'm getting 5 points, but my opponent is getting 3, and that is just really difficult to fight against. There's always the option to kind of try and overwhelm your opponent in a position like that, but I wasn't prepared to do that. So, yeah, here we go. We get the Woodstock down, and it's a really nice pull on the bonus card. Rodentologist. I was already planning on playing that Roadrunner, so now not only the Woodstock that I've just played, but this Roadrunner as well is going to meet both of these bonus cards, and basically is going to get me another 4 points. So that's a really nice option to have. And yeah, when it gets to this kind of late point in the game, you've got to start thinking about where the points are coming from, and that's quite a challenge for me at this point because I'm not getting any points in this forest. Obviously getting quite a bit of food, which is nice. But yeah, it's tricky because I can get cards, but that is only getting me 3 points. And, this next turn, when I gain those cards, I'm going to be completely full of eggs on that common grackle. So, yeah, I can potentially play some birds and clear up some of those egg spaces. But, yeah, I really don't want to be doing that traditional late game, lay lots of eggs, because I'm just going to be giving so many eggs to my opponent, and that is certainly not a position I want to be in. So yeah, I'm going to go for cards here, and that blackbird probably saved me here because that just meant that I could play that. That's going to clear up the spaces on the grackle, and it might seem like an odd choice because you think about it, it's a 2-point bird. I'm playing it in this third round, basically the end of the third round, and it's costing me 2 eggs to play it, so I'm basically not getting any points. But it's not so much about the points that it's generating now, it's more about the potential for points that it's going to give me in that final round. So you'll see I go for the Screech Owl as well. I'm kind of thinking with this food I've got, I can play the Blackbird, the Screech Owl and the Roadrunner and not have to go for food again. And if I can save myself a turn, gaining food, that's more turns, playing these birds and scoring points, or drawing cards and getting lots of tuck cards. So just back on that Blackbird again. Like I said, I'm going to play it now. It's not going to get me any points, but what it's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to, in that final round, have 5 turns. 3 of them are going to be drawing cards and 2 of them are going to be playing birds. So if I can spend those 3 turns drawing cards, at least scoring 5 points, it means I don't have to go to that grasslands and try and score points that way. Really at this point, it doesn't matter what birds I draw. It's all going to be about just tucking those cards. If I'm only spending 3 turns drawing cards, I can make sure that before I fill up on egg space on the Grackle and the Blackbird, I can be playing either the Screech Owl or the Roadrunner and just clearing up some of that egg space. At this point, my final round feels pretty straightforward. Just have to be a little bit careful about if my opponent's going to give me too many of these eggs in the cavity nest, because again I'm starting to fill up a little bit there. We go into this final round, and I was kind of wondering what my opponent's endgame was here, because they've got quite a bit of food. Obviously they just went for food on that last turn, so they get the Trumpeter one down, which I wasn't that enthusiastic to see. Big point bird would have been nice for me with that omnivore bonus, but certainly a good play for my opponent. But they still have a few food left, so I'm trying to work out how much of this is going to be just them laying eggs, and that's why you see I did kind of consider picking up that Swift, because if they've spent quite a few turns drawing cards, they might have some left over. Maybe they want to play the Swift and just lay eggs and get extra tuck cards on that. But I leave it in the end. I kind of figured if they wanted to take the Swift, they could take the Junco as well, and maybe use that food for more birds or discarding for eggs. So I was kind of curious what they were going to do, but like I said, for me, pretty straightforward. I can play the Screech Owl here. That just allows me to empty that space on the Grackle. Does also give extra cavity nest spaces, so depending on what my opponent does, if they go for extra food and use that Pleated Woodpecker, then I'm at least going to have some space there. But like I said, for me, pretty straightforward. I'm going to get the Screech Owl down. I know this Roadrunner's going to go down as well at some point, obviously for big points on its own, but also those bonus cards works really nicely with those. So for me, just kind of seeing what my opponent's doing. They're going for eggs, kind of like my grasslands. Not the strongest. They're only getting 3 eggs plus a tuck card for 4 points. And normally I think, in this late game, you want to be scoring at least 6 or 7 points turn. Obviously I'm not quite meeting that, but 5 points from my wetlands versus 4 points from their grasslands. I know at least I'm scoring more points than my opponent here on each turn, and I've still got this big point Roadrunner to get down as well. Here we go, penultimate turn. Really I'm just kind of interested to see if my opponent does play another bird, because currently they are on 9, and if I play this Roadrunner I'm also going to get to 9, so we would be tied for the end of round goal. But they do have a few extra food, so I'm kind of expecting something to go down, and they do indeed play a bird, so they get the Flycatcher down in their forest. So doesn't really change my plan. I was always going to be playing that Roadrunner and getting those big points. So my opponent does take the final end of round, and we go into the scores. So I really wasn't sure how to feel about this. I knew my opponent was going to have lots more bird points. It was all about the bonus cards, and I think having those 2 nice bonus cards pulled it back. But the end of round goals, those really killed me. And eggs was pretty close, so it does, as always, come down to these tuck cards. And there we go. I had enough from that wetlands to get the victory by 5 points. And this was a really, really tough game for me. You might kind of spot this just from watching it. But being able to kind of switch between the habitats, obviously my kind of my initial strategy was all centered around that Violet Green Swallow, but I think after that first round, or at least the first couple of turns in the second round, I didn't use the grasslands at all, because I couldn't really against these 3 pink powers. That was just basically a recipe for disaster. So I think I did get a bit of good fortune with the birds I picked up, and certainly the bonus cards. But I think really my opponent pushed me in that game to think differently and to kind of go with a different strategy from normal. So yeah, obviously I felt good being able to win this tournament, my second tournament win. Shame not to get it streamed, but I was glad to be able to record it and make it into a video. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed watching that. I've got a playlist full of other gameplay videos if you want to check those out. And there's a link in the description to come and join us on the Tournaments Discord. So if you do want to take part with the release of the European expansion coming very soon, there's going to be plenty more tournaments coming your way. So please do come and join us, and you can take part in more tournaments like this.